I've been reading Daverat for more than 30 years, but it's the very first time I meet him in real life. We both work in the magazine, for magazine, as well as Alexandre, entitled Jazz Magazine, but I've never met him. And Xavier Daverat comes from Bordeaux. The universities of Bordeaux are really, I made a lot of work to allow this event. And Xavier Daverat teaches private law at the University of Bordeaux. But beside from his official works, university works, he produces many studies, articles about jazz. And one of his, 5 years ago, you published a book entitled Tombeau de John Coltrane. You know perhaps the Tombeau de Couperin by Ravel. This is the Tombeau de John Coltrane by Xavier Daverat. He's going to speak about jazz and Pan-Africanism, which is a political concept. After all, we are not so far from law.
Okay, thank you. I must have first to apologize because it's very unusual for me to speak in English, and so it would be easier in Spanish, but we are in the University of Chicago. I tried. I would like to thank the organizers, Arnaud, and Alexandre especially, and all the team that participated in the organization of this symposium. I have to speak about jazz and Pan-Africanism. No doubt we could go far enough back in time, especially to the Harlem Renaissance. You know, Du Bois and Ellington lived in Sugar Hill, Bois. In half an hour, I will only talk about something that happened to jazz from the beginning of the 60s till the mid-70s, period in which some musicians expressed a solidarity between the colored people in the world and the need for a community of struggles in Africa against colonialism and in the USA for civil rights. Jazzmen are concerned, for sure, as African Americans. I'll say the Architect, quote, I think that the black man's hardship in the United States predisposes him to be politicized. 4 points, so in my paper, the first is solidarity of jazzmen with Africa, and I take first 2 examples during the same year in 1960. First example is well known, We Insist, Max Roach, Freedom Now suit, released in August and September 60. The record presents pieces composed by the drummer, Max Roach, and written by lyricist Oscar Brown Jr. The title Freedom Now is a quote of Asa Philip Randolph, who was a unionist in the States, founder of American labor movement. From a Pan-African perspective, it's interesting to note that Max Roach was supposed to be presenting his work in the centennial of Emancipation Proclamation in '63. And he dedicates 2 pieces to the situation in South Africa. The whole second side of the album is the original vinyl edition. In the first one, titled All Africa, Abe Lincoln, with a background of drums and percussions, lists more than 30 African tribes, with Michael Olatunji in an antiphonal form called response to her in the Yoruba language. The second one, Tears for Johannesburg, refers to the events in Sharpeville, which occurred on March 1960. We remember that the Pan-African Congress, led by Robert Sobukwe, claimed for a campaign against pass laws, passport used to limit movements of populations when they leave their areas. The repression of this protest killed 69 people and injured 118 others. The second example in the same years is due to Randy Weston with the recording Who Africa in November 16. Who is a Swahili word, so Bantu language from East Africa for freedom. So the record says title Freedom Africa. The set brings together an extended band with 24 musicians and offers a suite in four movements. The first movement is named Uhuru Kwanzaa, and it comes after a poem by Langston Hughes with the same title. The second is African Lady, and the third Bantu. The disc closes on Kucheza blues. Kucheza means to play. Uhuru Africa is a great moment of Western's interest for Africa. There was a composition named Zulu before 1955, but later there were many recordings with references to African music for the new African nations in '63 or Blues to Africa record with a piano solo. A major event in the '60s, at the end of the '60s, was the Pan-African Festival of Alger. Alexandre has spoken about it. One of the highlights of the Panaf, as we say, was performed by Archie Chef at the closing of the festival. We must remember a previous presence of Africa in the works of Chef, perhaps under influence of John Coltrane. The first presence in Chef's works, it's the magic of Juju recorded in '67. Juju refers to the objects and spells of magical practices in West Africa. There is only another title, New Africa, recorded in February '69 before the Pan-African, published on a record titled Kwanzaa. The Kwanzaa with two A's is a celebration just after Christmas until the beginning of the following New Year, created by Maulana Karanga. We'll talk about him later. Who must federate all blacks from Africa and elsewhere, so typically Pan-African, and replaces Christmas, white Christmas. Kwanzaa refers to two Angolan provinces, two and an Angolan river and a currency in Angola. Shep performed with his sextet. This is a moment of the festival, and it's very interesting to hear what it is said at the beginning by Ted Jones, the introduction by Ted Jones.
You saw where you saw the wild American, the Afro American, the African, the Portuguese, the provincial, you saw African. Jazz is a black power. Jazz is a African power. Jazz is a African music. Jazz is a African music.
Well, we have no time to extend it this. Different sort of context, we've seen different sort of. African references continue to be present in Shep's career. When he came back in Paris after the Pan-Af, he recorded every day during 8 days a session, and it was a series of recordings under his name or under the name of every one of the musicians of his sextet. Then he recorded a record which is named Ujama. Ujama is very interesting. In 78, the title Ujama is a Swahili word for what English would translate more easily than French by familiarhood in French. Familiarism is quite difficult. The concept is associated with political principles of Julius Nyerere in Tanzania, social construction supposed to be developed in every village. It's sort of self-sufficiency and self-reliance. Second point, Africa as a reference, because jazz of the 60s and the 70s was also marked by various references to African ethnic groups and languages. The first example refers to the Bantu people living in Cameroon, Comoros. The influence of Maulana Karenga on Daverat was very important. The son of a Baptist pastor was the first elected student in UCLA. Karenga created the Kawaida theory, and this Kawaida theory is very interesting because there was a recording next made by various musicians under the leadership of Albert Pierce in '69. All or most of the musicians were renamed with Swahili name: Jimmy East, Tayari, Don Cherry, Safari, Herbie Hancock, Wandishi, etc., etc. The project was the idea of M. Tume, James Foreman, who was a percussion player, but the arrangements are made by Jimmy East. M. Tume is the son of Jimmy East and the nephew of Albert East. Then M. Tume recorded himself Al Kibroulan, Land of the Blacks. Land of the Blacks is the real translation of Al Kibroulan. Al Kibroulan is the African continent. It had not been a victim of colonization. Umoja is the first precept of the Kawaida theory, meaning the unity of family, community, and race. Then Herbie Hancock, piano player, kept the name of Wandishi and gave it to his group. With the members of his sextet, then they adopt Swahili names and identities: Eddie Anderson, Ganga, Julian Priester, Beko, Toto. The Wandishi period, like Herbie Hancock, includes 4 studio recordings. Here we have a recording live. It's a bootleg recording. It's a shame for someone who works on copyright. And later in the other group by Hancock, the headhunters, we note first the use of Bambezele pygmy is the fruit of Central Africa, and the image on the cover substitutes for the face of Hancock, a clay mask design. It's a ceremonial object of the tribe of Baoulés. The second important reference is to the Yoruba movement. It was initiated by Oba Ifula Osejeman Abdeladu Adefumi, Walter Belgian king, who was a Juba priest in Juba, and would travel to Ile-Ife. Ile-Ife, today Ife, is a city in the southwest of Nigeria. It's considered as the birthplace of humanity, the land of expansion, and the center of the world in Yoruba religion. Miles Davis has given the title of Ife to one of his compositions, recorded for the first time in public in Milan in October 71. And the piece was then recorded in studio in 72, well-known version of the album Big Fun. Then he mixed Ife with the Calypso Frelimo during a concert in Montreux in 73 and in a radio station in October 73. Frelimo refers to the Mozambique Liberation Front. And so there are here three symbolic Pan-African things: the land, Ife, the struggle, Frelimo, and the music, Calypso. Don't forget that Calypso, born in Trinidad and Tobago, and now all countries based on African rhythm. Another recording by Miles Davis is titled Pangaria, Pangaria, which is said in French Pangé. In this recording in 75, there is two extended pieces, Zimbabwe and Gondwana. The title of the record, and Gondwana, refers to the supercontinents whose collisions have given birth to Africa. Later in the career of Miles, in the last part of the career, was Tutu and Amanda, for sure. There is at the same moment important Africanity in the career of Michael Tyner in this period after John Coltrane. There are African allusions in Time for Tyner, African Village, and a piece called Little Madimba. Madimba is a Congolese territory. Then there was an album titled Expansion, allusion to the deployment of original place, and then Extension with this cover with African natives in a village. The second album, Extension, contains an important piece called Message from the Nile. And we know that the historian and philosopher Molefi Asante consider Africa as the center of history of humanity, and Egypt as a central point in Africa, with the conviction that Egyptians were black, and the conviction of black Cleopatra. And one of the Tyner's following album is titled Asante. There is a composition for Asante in this album. So, point for jazz and black politics. What about politics in that time? I think that there are two important things for black musicians. And we take the example of what Abraham Lincoln said. The first one is the consciousness of belonging to a common cultural group. So Abraham Lincoln said, quote, "I am an African living in America. My ancestors are African. They are ones who watch over me, even if my birth has been mixed. Culturally, I am African." The second thing comes from the connection between slavery and colonization, between black struggles in the USA and decolonization movement in Africa. The situation of Negroes in the United States was a sort of colonialism, for sure. So black people can react socially, culturally, but they can enter the world of decolonization. It was the point of view of Stokely Carmichael, of Edward Cleaver, and others. And it is this latent violence that is expressed again by Abe Lincoln, quote, "Black Americans do not need to be told to take up arms. They know what they have to do." Moreover, you know the Black Panther Party participated to the festival of Algiers. We must return for a minute to the PANAF. Remember the political dimension in the introduction of Architect by Ted Jones. We have come back, said in English and in French, nous sommes revenus. It's the title of the long improvisation by Shep on the record. We have come back, with credit for both Shep and Jones. Is this a coming back really close to Garvey's returnism? Certainly, Marcus Garvey was more influential than Du Bois on African Americans at that time. Remembering an oriented education, Miles Davis said, quote, "We did not have the right books. We had no black history. Sometimes we had a teacher who came from time to time to teach us black history, Marcus Garvey or things like that." In reality, I think that there are no proposals for repatriation. And while Shep was on stage wearing a traditional North African dress, it was not a real question of returning. Moreover, in a little interview speaking about Alex Halle's book, You Remember Roots, Shep asked himself this question. Roots asked something superficial about his return to Africa. Did Africa demand us? It is impossible to forget Americanity, but you have to claim it as a black. Don't let piano players say it very well. Quote, America is our country. It is said that it belongs to them, but then with emphasis on them. But we also built it with our hands. It belongs to us as much as to them. Exile may be a good solution for some, but it's not my ideal. I love coming to Europe, but I'm always looking forward to coming home. And my home is America. We can return here to Du Bois, and the wish is to make it possible for a man, as he said, to be both a Negro and an American, without being cursed and spit upon by his fellows, without having the doors of opportunity closed in your face. But this is here a sort of Negro domination in which jazz participates. The case of Architect is particularly interesting. Remember that Jones, jazz is a black power, jazz is an African power. First, we should remember Malcolm X's speech delivered in Cleveland in '64, speech called The Ballot of the Bullet, very famous. I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, and I do not consider myself an American. I'm one of the 22 million black people who are the victims of Americanism. I'm speaking as a victim of this American system, and I see America through the eyes of the victim. I do not see any American dream, I see an American nightmare. We can put these words in vibration with the text, for example, of Mama Rose by Architect. There is a reference to Malcolm in the text. Architect speaks himself by the point of view of the victim. Well, I just want to tell you, Mama Rose, we are the victims, and proposes an allegory on the fate of Africans. Your simmering hopes and jelly corpse turn up to the sky like a putrefying Congolese after the Americans have come to hell. And then he calls to revolution. Just a few minutes returning to the PANAF with the discourse of Kwame Nkrumah.
لمنظمة الوحدة الإفريقية، أصحاب المعالي الوزراء، فهو أيضا ليس بعملية ترفيهية شاملة تلهينا مؤقتا عن مهامنا ومتاعبنا اليومية بقدر ما هو مشاركة بصفة مباشرة وفعالة بمجهود جبار من أجل البناء والتشييد كما هو جزء لا يتجزأ من المعركة التي نفتئنا نخوضها
belongs to the
جميعا
struggle that we're continuing all in Africa to
سواء في
lead,
مجال التنمية
be it that of development or national liberation.
فالاستعمار
Colonialism is a evil that we
جميعا
have all
وعانينا منه الأمرين
experienced
ثم انتصرنا
and that we
عليه
have
وعلى
triumphed over.
ظاهره
But
وقضينا على
its mechanism are
السيطرة
complex.
غير أن
Colonialism in its essence, as in its spirit a total act, can only add to material domination, a social impact, cultural boumedienne. Right?
President of Algeria. President of Algeria. First,
Algeria.
Algeria. Revolution.
Thanks for this translation. Well, this introduces the second example coming from Archishep, who said, our revenge will be black, as suffering is black, as Fidel is black, as Ho Chi Minh is black. What does this Robert for communion mean with Uncle Ho, with Fidel Castro, with the support of Viet Minh and the Viet Cong? Here, the anti-colonial struggles collide, mixed with communism. So there is a radical political thinking which constitutes at the time one of the ultimate points in the attempt to bring together Marxism with a racial question. This was a way for Du Bois, but here in the perspective of revolutionary Marxism. The 4 points was about Afrocentric aesthetic. I talked it was very brief for that for me. I will not open the discussion about the African part of jazz. The question is, what can we hear in the music represented here? I detected 4 characteristics briefly. The first one is the beat and the presence of percussion in these records, either African or coming from music under African influences. He will insist that Bellington declaims the poem, giving the beat a mythical dimension, since she said a black hand landed on the drum. An important musician in this regard was the Nigerian Babatunde Olatunji, member of the Yoruba people. He was in the project of We Insist. He recorded in the same year a successful album, Drums of Passion, with a famous piece, Ringo Loba, with very famous when it was recorded 10 years later by the Carlos Santana band. He opened a center for African culture in New York, and the last concert known by John Coltrane was recorded at Olatunji Center. Coltrane dedicated a piece named Tunji to Olatunji. There are 2 in insist Cuban musicians, Afro-Cuban players, Ray Mantilla, Thomas Duval, and Candido Camero and Armanda Peralta were percussionists in the same times. And these recordings, well, there's Pan-Africanism, which includes the music, but the cosmopolitanism of the musician, of the performer. The second frequent characteristic is the use in this music of meditative forms, of large meditative forms. We note the ostinato in acquaintance with modal music, modal scales. Certainly there was a general use of modal jazz at that time, but the modal used here in sort of free spirituals. In the Land of the Black, there is a sort of prayer subtitle, Sifa Zote, the words in African of a song of praise, and the words are written, as it is said on the cover, by Imamu Baraka. Baraka, Roy Jones. The third characteristic is the freestyle. It has been said how much free jazz has been consubstantial of black struggle. It goes as far as rage as an extension, for example, of the radicalism of Shep's or Lincoln's quotes. The final characteristic for me can be found in a sort of a new tribalism, which can itself take several forms. The use of the ostinato, giving a cyclical aspect to the music, and which can lead to trance. But don't forget a form of new tribalism in the electrical or electronical textures of this time in Miles Davis' career, or for a perfect example, in Herbie Hancock's record Sextant in the one-sheet period. On one hand, there are many rain dances in Africa, Solis in Zambia, Sand in Namibia, and on the other hand, the interpretation of rain dance in the record by Hancock under the, how to say, ethereal moods and electronic instrumental echoes on the trumpet. There is something organic in this music. And finally, the African dance under the moon drawn on the cover of Sextant, and the title of the record, Sextant, which refers to an astronomical music instrument, symbolically places Africa in a new cosmogony. So, to conclude, this is a sort of apocryphal and refunded music, not really African, but looking for Pan-African forms, because the musical systems in Africa, in the United States, are compatible, and this is look for a common soul in black music. When a musician like Jackie McLean gave titles like Calypso, for example, or Bluesa Nova, to join the traditional two forms of music. This is a search in what we name during a time great black music, and today Steve Corman is looking for, he said, black phonemics. What are black phonemics? The phonemes for us is the little entity of language. Those black phonemics exist. It's a search of what Maulana Kamanga wants, black art, and when he say what we need is an aesthetic, black aesthetic. Thank you very much.